Hi, I'm Andrea and welcome to Productive C#. In this video, I want to talk about two refactorings, extract method and inline method. Extract method is probably the most important refactoring tool that you have available because it really helps you to remove duplication and make your code intent more clear and generally make the code more readable. However, there is also the getting inline method that can also help in order to get to a more readable code base. I want to start from that one. Here I have an example of a code base that has been broken down in a bit weird way. So if you look at this code, you might not be able to fully understand what is doing. There are lots of methods. The method don't seems to be very clear in what they are doing. Okay, I'm trying to insert a name, then a surname, then I call this read developer 1, then I call read name, get developer 2, I print developer 1, I print some lines, I complete the print. I'm not quite sure what the code is doing from a first look. So yeah, it's not very clear. So one of the tools I can use is to inline methods in order to be able to see all the code at once inside a single method. And that can sometimes help to understand better what the code does. It doesn't always work, but it's a technique that I really recommend you to use when you're really struggling to understand a piece of code. So let's, for example, go to read developer 1 here. I can do Ctrl+RI. I'm using ReSharper. And this tool allows me to inline all usages of this method. If I do next, now pretty much the entire content of the method is copied back where the method was called. I can do that for every single method. Ctrl+I. I can do Ctrl+RI. Complete print. Here I can do print 1, Ctrl+I, print lines, Ctrl+I, and so on. Now I effectively inline all the methods, and all of these methods can go because I'm not using them anymore. And as you can see, this is now the code. You start to see now what we are doing here. So there's a bit of a oddities here. You can just rename this variable, remove this line. Here I can developer 4 can be just developer 2. I can remove this line. Okay, I can add a space in here. So now you can see there's also here name 3 that can be moved to name 2. There we go. Now you can see that if I group this code in a slightly different way, you can see some patterns. You can see that the first lines of code here are effectively asking the user to input a name and a surname, and is creating a developer. And those lines here are exactly identical. And the same for the printing. Here is printing developer 1 to the console, and this one is printing developer 2 to the console. Now it's very logical what's going on. What I can do to make this code, to remove the duplication and make the intent even more clear, I can do Ctrl+RM to extract a method. Enter. I can give a name to this method. ReSharper is automatically able to detect which parameters need to be passed to the function. And let's call this one read developer. Press enter, and boom, ReSharper automatically created this method, returning a developer. And I can slightly change the code to just return directly here. And now I have this method. So I can remove all this line here and create developer 2. That's it. And I can do the same for the print. I can select all of this, Ctrl+M, extract method, and now I call this one print developer. And I pass developer 1, automatically ReSharper does that. I copy this, paste here, and call developer 2, and remove these lines. And I lost parentheses, there we go. So now the code is incredibly easy to understand. If you look at the main, now it's very easy. You see read developer, then read developer 2, print developer 1, print developer 2. It reads as English. And now the methods are very obvious, and the functionality of each method and the responsibility of each method is extremely clear. This method is called print developer, and the responsibility is to print a developer to the console. And the other method is read developer. The responsibility is to return a developer, given the user input. Obviously, there is some rename that you can do. For example, here developer could be renamed. I can do Ctrl+R to rename, and I call this developer. And here, for example, name one, name one, fine. I could just rename this one to name, and I could rename this one to surname, and there we go. And this is effectively what I wanted to demonstrate today. Extract method is an extremely powerful refactoring that allows you to give a name to a piece of code, helps you to remove duplication and make the intent of your code more clear. However, sometimes it's not very clear what you need to extract, and you need to inline methods first in order to be able to understand better what the code does and experiment with what you want to extract, so that at the end you have a very logical breakdown of methods, so that you can make your code a lot more easier to understand for future developers. Thank you very much for watching.